Hey there, good afternoon. Michael Winn, Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. And again, I'm joined by Katie Lilly from Lilyfield Accounting Solutions. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, so we are session 4, episode 4, as we go through the book Traction by Gino Wickman. And we're actually, even though this is session 4, we've broken up chapter 3 into a couple of different components because there's so much in this particular chapter that we don't want to shortcut because it's critical. We spoke last time we got together about finding your core values and your core focus. Mm-hmm. And so today's session, what we're going to do in this chapter is we're going to talk about what's important and what are the core sort of tenets of your marketing strategy for your business. So this is obviously a real sweet spot for me and Katie Lilly. I'm looking forward to just some of your feedback and what you thought about as you went through the book. So the Gino sort of paints this picture that when you're creating your marketing strategy, the 4 things that you need to obviously keep in mind are: who is your target market? What are your 3 unique value propositions? What is your process? And then what is your guarantee that you offer? So let's kind of break this down. And I think the one thing that really struck me as I read was he starts this section off and he talks about businesses need to stop thinking about trying to be the one-stop shop. And trying to provide everything to everyone. And I know I have some, my industry in marketing and advertising, it's a big thing, but I want to hear your thoughts on how you think that relates in the accounting world and what you sort of thought like, okay, I'm drawing the line, this is where we are, and this is what we're doing.
Right. So I've talked a little bit about it last podcast when we decided to just be a bookkeeping firm. So I naturally thought when I opened my firm that to be competitive, I needed to add tax services as well.
Yep.
And I even got that feedback from clients, because the clients that I was doing the books for, they trust me. They want to go find somebody else. So they're like, please do our taxes, please do our taxes. And I dove into it for a little bit and I realized I hate it. And I don't enjoy it, and it's not something it doesn't fit my core value of fun. So which I've decided to adopt the core value.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's when I finally made the decision, and for me it's a little bit different because there's a little bit of ego involved in there for me because I was a CPA in a former life. I was on the audit side, and that's pretty prestigious. Right?
Right.
And so there was a little bit of an ego thing for me, because sometimes we'll be called just a bookkeeper. You're just a bookkeeper.
Right.
And so, sometimes you're like,
glorious and glamorous.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, if you're at the fancy cocktail party and they're like, what do you do? So now, I have to say I'm just a bookkeeper. So, but the fact of the matter is that I love bookkeeping. It is so much more about the systems and helping that small business owner just get off the ground running, and that is my passion, and creating the whole back office systems so that my clients can thrive and do what they do, and we take care of things in the back. And that's what allowed us to really get that core focus and not try to be everything to everybody.
Yeah, I think that one of the most difficult things for a business to say is the 2-letter word.
No.
No.
Yeah, I know.
No, I can't do that.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is the literal answer is yes, I have the ability and I can do it, but it's not in line with my core values. It's not in line with my core focus. And it's not a part of the vision and the direction that I want to take
the
company. And I think a lot of startups, as well as companies, like mine that are, 3 decades old, I mean, we've seen this huge wave in public relations, marketing, and advertising over the last 3 decades. I mean, we've seen this huge shift of, in the 80s, people wanted, lots of television, lots of billboards,
Right.
and lots of
Print, mail,
earned media, reporter stories, and
Yeah.
things like that. Like,
Right.
because that's where the attention was.
Mhm.
I mean, you turned on your TV, and that is where you lived.
Right.
Or you turned on your radio in your
Yeah,
car,
that's what I was gonna say, right?
and that is where you lived.
Right.
And so having that kind of relationship in my business during that time, and really on through the 90s and up through early 2000s, but obviously for us, things are shifting and have shifted in just the last half decade,
Mhm.
where we now walk around with the internet
Right.
in our pocket, literally.
Right.
So the world and the world's attention
Right.
is in our pocket.
Right.
So when a commercial comes on, we grab our phones,
Right.
or we don't even watch commercials at all because we've cut the cord and we're not even, or we've got DVR on demand.
Right.
I mean, all the different things. So that's really kind of crazy. So it then starts to create this, if someone comes to me and says, I want to do this media buy, then, and we want to do this television, buy, and I'm like, that's really overpriced, and it's not where the attention is. Are you sure that's what you want to do?
Right.
Yes, I can get it, but no, I don't think it's a good idea.
Right.
Because you're paying an astronomical amount,
Right.
an overpriced amount, and the attention is very small.
That's so interesting you said that, because similar experience for me, kind of, is I got a call from a lead. I had a lead, and he said he was an Amazon reseller, and I don't.
He has inventory.
Right, he has inventory, and
not your deal.
He has retail. It's retail inventory, and then probably a lot with the back end of Amazon. And I had to be really honest with them. I said, I don't doubt for a second I can learn it, but you're going to be paying for my learning curve, and that's not fair to you. And so the cool thing about it was he's like, I really appreciate your honesty.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because maybe someone else would have been like, okay, and then he would have gotten this bill, like, what in the world? So I don't know. I feel like it's just being really honest.
Yeah.
About what's important to you, and looking out for them. Like, you're looking out for your customer. You're saying, that's not where people are looking at ads.
And that's not where the attention is. Right. Yeah. So again, I think that Gino kind of breaks this into 4 components and talks about your target market, your 3 uniques, your process, and your guarantee. So you've kind of mentioned it. Part of your target market is service-based businesses.
Correct.
So what other kind of breakdowns do you have in your target market, would you say?
Okay, so my service-based business, no inventory, which we talked about, no construction or contract clients. And then from the standpoint, I need somebody that's usually the owners do the books until they just can't anymore.
Right.
So I'm looking for those where the owner's just completely overwhelmed and they're like, oh my gosh, I've hit the wall. I can't go any further if I'm doing this. I need to pass it on to somebody else.
Right.
So that's the point of entry for us. And then go all the way to where it really makes more sense for them to have either a controller or a CFO on board.
Right.
So we're kind of in the middle there. So, we want to help our clients grow to almost outgrow us. You know what I mean? Like, we want our clients to get so big that they've got to have an accounting department. And then we'll be happy to help staff their accounting department, but so there's like a sweet spot there of not only service-based, but this size.
Sure. Yeah, so I think what we've learned over the years is that, for the last 3 decades, we've worked with literally hundreds of associations, being that we're located in Tallahassee, which is the capital, and the legislative body meets here. So businesses who serve other businesses or other members that are spread throughout the state. So I would say that our target audience is sort of a state reach type business, so I think that would be one component of it. And throughout the years, what we've seen is that, through our leadership, our execution of campaigns for the association level, members of that association look up to the association and say, well, who did that for you?
Right.
And then they're able to refer us to their members.
That's good.
And so that's worked out really well. I think the other thing that that we've worked with this sounds crazy is companies who are struggling, who want to increase their sales. And so I think, we usually don't get people who are like just jamming and being successful, like, because they think they have it figured out. So great, more power to them.
Right.
Mostly.
Or they may have a full-time marketing person.
They have them in-house. Right.
Right.
And then I think the other thing is we do work with, at the local level, businesses that are what I would call mature. Maybe they've been around for 10, 20, 30 years, and they're a small group. Maybe they have, just an executive director and a staff person. So they're either a 2-person or 1-person, organization, operation, but they need staff. But it makes more sense to hire us compared to trying to hire a $60,000 marketing person, which ends up costing them $80,000-$85,000.
Right. When
you put in workers' comp and paid time, you get an entire team with 3
and that
workers.
person may or may not work out.
Right.
Right. And then you're back to square one if you have to rehire. So yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, okay, cool. So that's target market for each of us. Let's talk about uniques. Tell me some uniques about
my unique. Okay.
Unique value propositions for your business.
Okay, so my number one unique is that we are early adopters of QuickBooks Online. So we, I need to get the stats on how many conversions I've done. Maybe between 10 and 15 conversions from desktop to QuickBooks Online. Have 2 more scheduled next week. So we are helping people move from being chained to the desktop to being in cloud-based accounting. And it's not a hard process. The actual transition takes like 20 minutes. It's the processes that change because a lot of things are automated that weren't before. And so the processes behind the scenes kind of change with how you were doing things. But not a whole lot of people in Tallahassee are changing to QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Desktop has worked. I mean, why?
They're sticking with the status quo.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and it's not
their
broken.
Comfort.
Right. It's not broken.
Right.
So why?
Not yet.
That's right. That's right. Because eventually desktop will be phased out.
Right.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
And now we'll be ahead of that curve saying, look at us, we've done 50, 100 conversions, and who are you going to pick?
Sure.
Right. So that's one of our 3 uniques. The second one I mentioned earlier, bookkeeping only. That's all we do. So that makes us a little bit unique. And then my other is our workforce. So I structured the firm to work for me and my lifestyle. I don't think you've ever heard me call myself this, but I'm a hybrid mom. Hybrid. I'm not stay at home, but I'm not full-time working. I am I don't really, when they do the wars, working moms versus stay-at-home moms, I'm kind of like on the fence, like, hey, see both sides. So I wanted a job where I could drop my kids off, go to work, pick my kids up. Super, super important to me. And so I just structured my job around that. And so that's how our workforce is. We have no salaried people. We are all hourly. You work. You get paid for what you work, and you figure out when your hours are and when you're going to do them, and
you get the work done.
You get the work done.
That's great.
And so I have to look for super responsible people that just want to get in there, get it done, and get on with their life. You know what I mean? That responsible, and that I know they're going to get the work done. You know, we've set up everything. They know exactly what they need to do. They get in, they get out, and on to their family life. And that's the workforce piece has been really, really unique and cool. So
yeah, very good. I think for us, again, when we started the company, when Rick Oppenheim started the firm, 3 decades, he was the first firm in Tallahassee, and really deployed the integrated marketing communications strategy. And the reason why that was so different than what was happening at the time was you had, companies who were basically doing the silo type activities when it came to public relations and marketing and advertising. And so it wasn't about us, our company, fulfilling all of the different things, but it was about us being strategic on behalf of the client to say, okay, if we're going to have this message on this platform, then how do we make sure that the same message is consistent in a different format? So if in video the message is here, how do we tell that same story
on a website,
on a different,
or social media?
Right. And back then it was, how do you tell the same story in video that you do in print? Right. And so it was working together with our companies. Maybe they had their own videographer, or maybe they had their own radio personality. We were one of the first firms that really pulled those things together to make sure that you had that consistency in your messaging. So I think again, being innovators has really been a mark of this agency for a long time. And I think, again, within just the last few years, looking at social and digital and the attention game, that we've talked about, I think we are really dedicated to seeing our clients' success first.
Yes.
So almost it's like we put their best interest in front of our own. Right. Because we know if they win, we win. Right. And so I think that, I would think that all companies do that.
They probably don't. Well,
at the back end, it's not what happens.
I think it goes back to
here's a perfect example. Okay. So in the digital space right now, Apple came out with this idea that when you put an app in the App Store and you sell the app for, $1.99 or whatever, their percentage rate is 30%. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, this industry standard for digital commission was 30%. So, in traditional media, 15% media commission has been a standard for 50 years, going back, 5-6 decades. But we're looking at a completely different model where we have a flat rate for our creative services, our strategic services, and then what the budget is for the client in digital, there's no markup.
Right.
So if we're doing Facebook ads for you, if we're doing Google ads for you, there's no markup from us.
Right.
That's huge. That turns your, so if you were at some other agency and you were placing a $10,000 buy, your $10,000 buy is actually $7,000.
Because they're taking their cut?
Because they're taking 30%.
Got it.
So now on our side, we're putting all $10,000 of your buy in the buy, which means your money's stronger and can buy more.
Right. Right.
So I think that's definitely a very unique model, and so there's a lot of agencies that don't like me and don't like our practice because we're cutting into their biggest margins.
Right.
But those models that they're charging on, they're broken.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Anyway,
They're the way we've always done it.
The way we've always done it. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's definitely unique. And then I think the other thing that's really unique that even in just the last 18 months has transformed the entire way we think about getting our message out for our clients, and that's digital at scale, which basically means we're no longer following the traditional agency marketing strategy of we're going to create this one single piece of content and then we're going to try to just blast it all over the universe, digital, print, billboard, media, whatever. No, we want to take basically and look at our businesses, who is their customer, what's important to their customer, but then break it down. So, you and I are both customers of an automotive group, right?
Right.
But your motivations to buy a car are different than motivations for me.
Right.
And they're different than the 28-year-old, right? So we look at the demographics, the psychographics, and the geographics, and then we contextualize or make content personalized for each one of those segments, and then deploy a creative set that responds to each one of those segments and those motivations. So we've destroyed the one-piece model and deployed this army, this massive amount of creative. And what's happening on the flip side is people are being, the target audience is being spoken to and receiving that message on a one-to-one basis, and they're responding.
Right.
They're responding with questions, or they're like favoriting it or sharing it. And so what happens is, as they do that again
exposes it to the same people that are in the same circle.
Right. Exactly. Right. So when you share that content, you're going to share with people who are just like you.
Right. All the moms.
Right. So instead of me having to push all my money in to get my message out, I'm sending it out individualized to those people, and then in turn they're sharing it with their friends. Right. So it's the viral characteristic of the social web, and that is really something that turns your company, that turns marketing pennies into marketing dollars.
Right. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So process. Again, I think what I just kind of talked about is our process that breaks down. So why don't you talk about your process?
Okay. So our process is standardized. So everything we do from the minute we log on to QuickBooks to the time we send out our reports is standardized for every single client. And we do the same thing for every single client with respect to bookkeeping. Now, what makes us unique is that we may create a system tailored to that particular client. For example, I think I mentioned this yesterday when I was giving a talk. If you've got someone, like I've got a client that does a lot of like repairs and maintenance, and he's in the car all the time, right? And so he's not sitting at a desk, logging in and doing a whole lot of email and stuff. He's out there, repairs, whatever. So we're going to create a system for him that works. And that might just be an accordion file in his front seat of his truck, where he just throws stuff in by month, or snaps pictures. We try to do that too, where they snap a picture of their receipt and send it our way. So we'll set up like an email address, like a receipts at, client.com, and they'll just shoot receipts there, and we'll pick them up to attach them in QuickBooks. Right. So we develop those kind of systems that are going to work for the client, not come up with, this is the absolute system that you must follow. We really dive into, how do you work? Are you this kind of a worker that learns by listening, by doing? What's your typical day look like? And how can we make a system that is just going to be natural for you to do? Right. And then we work that into our normal standardized Lilly field processes. Right.
Right. Yeah, I think for us, whether it's a website project or whether it's a campaign for a client, I think that we've really honed our process down to where, before we get the first live web page up, or before we get the first live, Facebook or Instagram ad, running, the first thing that we do is really do a deep dive into our clients, their industry, their business, what's important to them, what are their goals and objectives, what are their target audiences, what is their reach, and then we map that out in a 12-month, marketing plan, so that they know in advance, okay, here's the plan and here's what's being executed, and their leadership team can flip 4 months in advance and have an outline of, here's what we're going to do, and these activities are in a line and are synced with the overall goals and objectives, as well as the strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities for that business, right? And so, yes, do we still allow for if some type of surprise opportunity comes up for the client?
Right.
Yeah, we have that, but we still have a baseline. We still have a plan, and all of those plans on a month-to-month basis have measurement tools built in, so we can say what was the return on investment from these activities. So I think that's part of a process that our clients really value, because even in the discovery of that, they really can see, oh my gosh, I wasn't even thinking about community outreach and how that might work in, in my industry,
Right.
And I think the other thing too is that while the platforms are the same, the strategies are different. So for like one client, especially for clients who have a brick and mortar location, right? So associations really don't have walk-in traffic.
Right.
But for clients who do have that, we have some different tactics that we use. So it's not that we have this cookie cutter template. That's not the case. Yes, we have some tried and true best practices that we know that work. But we also think very strategically about, okay, for this particular client in this market with their audience, how can we garner the most attention at the lowest cost and give them the largest result?
Right.
So I think we've got that process mapped down. Okay, number 4, guarantee. I know when I first read the chapter, and I know you kind of commented the same thing, like, it's not like, going to Sears and buying a microwave where, I get a 1-year warranty on stuff. So in our industries, in a service-based business, I think, that is something. So what are your thoughts about how you create a value for your client when it comes to a guarantee?
Right. So what I wrote down were, first it was accurate books every month, which is super easy, to remember. And that's the whole point of what we're doing, accurate books every month. But then I added the word useful. So and I think that's where the value comes in, accurate and useful books every month.
That's
because
great.
I can sit there and reconcile and close your books and get them to the tax accountant. Anyone can do that. That's the commodity. Right. But what we do is we really try to tailor the reports to how management's going to look at them. So we're kind of mindful on 2 fronts. So we structure the accounts so that we can get a set of books to the tax accountant that's going to make the tax accountant's life super easy. And the tax accountant's not going to be grumpy, and they're going to love the client and love us and keep bringing us more business, right? So that's one way we structure the books. But we also structure the books in a manner that's going to help management make decisions. Whether it's looking at AR reports and how often do they want to be looking at AR reports, sending payroll reports, sending profit and loss statements by different class codes. So they may have different divisions and they want to see how each division's doing, budget to actual reports. So we try to do whatever it is that the client's going to look at and how often they're going to look at. But then what we also do is we kind of just teach them, because a lot of people go into business because they love what they do, not because they studied financial statements, in college or whatever. And they don't want to admit that. They don't want to, you know what I mean? It makes them vulnerable. They don't want to admit that you've given them a profit and loss statement. They have no idea what that means. They're like, okay, so you have to, I don't know, just really be able to educate without being condescending. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the 2 guarantees that I think about for our company, I think number 1, when we deliver a website to a client, one of the things that I do is I provide a couple of hours of training right after the website goes live, where we do a recorded screen share audio that's recorded. I go through and kind of like when you pick up a new car and they go through and they show you like where the knobs are and how to adjust the seat and how to do the memory and I think that's where this whole thing came from, was because of my history in the automotive industry. So I do these recorded sessions, and then, you know, we have an incredible library where these clients can access these video tutorials that's customized based on their website, right? Because there's hundreds of videos out on the web. If you just Google, you know, WordPress, how do I, you know, insert an image or whatever, but they're generic. And so these training systems are customized for our clients. So I think that that's important. And then I think the second one is that we are committed 100% to providing and looking for the greatest return on investment for our clients. Right. And I think in the past, agencies and advertising agencies have done in the past, they've looked for the best media price, like the lowest price spots, right? So like the commodity of the media, right? Making sure that it's in line or whatever. But I think what's interesting now is when we think about it, we're looking at, okay, what's the best value to get the most attention? And that sometimes looks way different than what is in their mind. So I think at the end of the day, our guarantee is we're going to look for what is the lowest cost, maximum impact, greatest reach for your organization. And I think that's a rock solid guarantee for our clients, because at the end of the day, if the client is throwing away money on advertising and not seeing results, then on the book side of business, you're like, your cash flow sucks.
And your sales did not increase.
And your sales did not increase, absolutely. All right, well, great, guys. Guys, thank you so much. We've gone over a little bit in time today, but this topic, a part of the book Traction by Gino Wickman, is an incredible book. Next week, we're going to finish up this chapter, and we're going to talk about your 10-year, 3-year, and 1-year plan. And then we'll finish up with this chapter and then go into the next one, which will be exciting. Katie, thank you again.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to talk with you. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Michael Winn. I am the Chief Digital Officer at Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. We'll catch you guys next Friday for Traction. We'll see you on Monday, no fooling, when we talk about digital marketing for your business to grow your business in 2019. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you.